Known as the Black Metropolis, Chicago was a beacon for African Americans from across the country, a nurturing place for those who would go on to the world stage. An Evening with the History Makers, Chicago Stories, explores this rich history that is Chicago's legacy. Hosted by actor-producer Harry Lennox and actress-director Regina Taylor.
Hello, Mr. Harry Lennox.
Regina Taylor, you are a sight for sore eyes. Brings me back to that wonderful evening we spent with the History Makers.
Yes, an evening with the History Makers.
That's right. You know, I'm looking at this paper today and seeing all the crime and violence. It reflects a city I don't much recognize.
The news doesn't capture a fraction of what Chicago is, was, or can be.
Let's try to recapture it ourselves a little bit with the great Teresa Griffin bringing us in to that wonderful evening we spent.
Oh, memories may be beautiful and gay. What's too painful to remember? We simply choose.
I grew up on the mid-south side of Chicago.
204 East 83rd Street.
47th and Greenwood.
51st, just west of Cottage.
3341 South Park, which is now King Drive.
I remember the ice persons up and down the alley.
The knife sharpener used to ride his bicycle there and sharpen your knives. The vegetable man used to come and scream up what he had. You know, got watermelon, corn.
Red as a berry, sweet as a cherry. Wah, 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 watermelon. Boy, you hear that? Daddy, can we get a watermelon?
You can smell Polish sausage and the onions being cooked in the air. Come back to our neighborhood, man, you're gonna smell some fried chicken, some catfish. It was all good, and we all shared.
People go in and out of people's apartment to borrow salt, and it wouldn't necessarily be home. You know, it was just like a big family.
In my neighborhood, if you strayed even too far in terms of certain norms, the cliche is right. People down the street would come and tell your mother.
That's sort of the kind of community where everybody on the block knew when I was supposed to be home. My great-grandmother said, she is not where I expect her to be. You all look for her, and they looked for me.
If you went up to like 94th Street, you could run around in these huge, never developed vacant lots and look for snakes.
Our neighborhood included our church, which was on the corner across the street from our house, and our church had a bowling alley in it.
If you could get on South Park, you felt pretty proud that that was the boulevard of note or of notables.
I almost literally grew up in Madden Park when I was a kid. After school, that's the first place I would go, because that's where you could play baseball, you could play football.
The neighborhoods that I grew up in, the maids and the doctors and the carpenters and the street sweepers, we all lived together. And I would say fairly successfully. I suspect that if there was significant division, it would be division around color.
You lived next door to people who had a lot of money and you didn't have it. But nobody thought about that. It wasn't like there was a separation of class in terms of that.
We lived in what is called a kitchenette. It's a one-room apartment, usually a large apartment, with 7 or 8 rooms in it. One family would stay in the front and had 2 rooms, another family in the middle, and another family at the end. You shared the kitchen, and you shared the bathroom.